Chapter 10, Summer. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. So school ends and we figure that's that. We got away with it. When we went to the principal's office for that meeting, we all played dumb. Homework machine? What homework machine? We pretended we didn't know what he was talking about. There was no evidence. Nobody could prove anything. Sam's mom. I was dusting his room and I noticed that his nice new computer wasn't there anymore. So I asked Sam where it was. He said Brenton asked for it back. I never called to check to see if that was true. Police Chief Rebecca Fish. In early June, 2 backpackers came across some junk scattered around the bottom of the canyon, not far from the river. It had obviously been dropped off the rim. Luckily, the stuff didn't land on them. The backpackers alerted the park ranger. He contacted me. Most of the pieces were too small to identify, but a few things looked like they might have been part of a computer. Who chucks a computer into the Grand Canyon? I put out the word to all the companies, organizations, and schools within 10 miles. We have strict rules against dumping debris in a national park, you know. Visitors want to see nature, not somebody's trash. Miss Rasmussen, 5th grade teacher. I was washing the dinner dishes when our principal, Mr. Wilson, called me and told me about pieces of a computer being found in the canyon. I didn't want to think that my students had anything to do with it, but I couldn't help but wonder. I told him I had a theory about what happened. I guess he made a few phone calls. Judy Douglas, grade 5. That was probably the most humiliating experience of my life. School had just let out for the summer, and the 4 of us were called into the sheriff's office. We didn't know why. Our parents had to come, and Miss Rasmussen was there too. They sat us down at this big table, and in the middle of the table was a piece of belch, the busted-up keyboard. Nobody had to say a word. We knew what had happened. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. So they asked if anybody has anything to say, and we all just sit there not looking at each other. We could have blamed the whole thing on Brenton. I have to admit the thought crossed my mind. He invented the thing, right? And he couldn't keep the secret. He invented the catapult, too. But I couldn't rat him out. Brenton was my friend. They had no evidence to tie us to the keyboard. It could have been anybody's keyboard. We could have gotten away with it, but then Judy just burst into tears and the jig was up. Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. Judy started crying, so I got up and said, "It was all my fault. I did it. Look, Brenton and Judy are geniuses. They shouldn't be prevented from going to college or doing something great with their lives because they made one stupid mistake in 5th grade. I didn't want Snick to take the rap either after his dad just died a few months ago." Miss Rasmussen, 5th grade teacher. After Kelsey confessed, Judy shouted out that Kelsey was lying and that she was responsible for the whole thing. Everybody was shocked. I couldn't imagine Judy doing something like that. Then Brenton started yelling, No, it was my idea." The 4 of them started arguing about which one of them was most to blame, and instead of blaming each other, they all blamed themselves. They were all apologizing at once. I had never seen anything like it. Thinking it over, I decided somebody else was really to blame. Me. I should have known what was going on months earlier. I was naive. I should have been more on top of things. They did it right under my nose. I wanted my students to be successful, and I wanted to think they were successful because of my teaching. I guess the sad truth is that I still have a lot to learn about teaching, and I can't be so trusting with students in the future. I'll be more careful next year. I told the kids that they didn't have to go off and invent a homework machine, because a homework machine already exists. It's called your brain. Police Chief Rebecca Fish. When the kids were called into my office, that threw a scare into them. They confessed to everything. They seemed genuinely sorry for what they did, so I went easy on them. Made him hike down to the bottom of the canyon on a hot day and clean up the mess. Took him all day. Then I made him come over in the office over the summer and say what happened so we got it on record. Far as I'm concerned, this case is closed. Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. I figured that was the end of it. School was over, summer was here, and I couldn't be seeing Snick or Judy or Brenton again until September. I don't know why, but I dyed my hair brown again and took out the belly button ring. I guess I just thought it was stupid. Judy Douglas, grade 5. We were leaving the sheriff's office, and I knew if I didn't say anything, I wouldn't see any of them for 3 months. So I worked up the courage and walked to Brenton and asked him if he wanted to go out with me. What would that entail? That's the way he put it. What would that entail? He cracks me up. So I told him it meant we might get together over the summer, get some ice cream or pizza or hang out and talk and stuff. He said that sounded good to him, so I guess we're going out. I think so anyway. Brenton Damagachi, grade 5. In honor of the beginning of summer, I decided to part my hair on the opposite side of my head, but I don't really care about the way I looked. But I read on some website that when you flush a toilet in the southern hemisphere, the water swirls clockwise. And when you flush a toilet in the northern hemisphere, the water swirls counterclockwise. So I thought it would be interesting to part my hair in the opposite direction during summer and winter months. And Judy likes it better this way too. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. I was thinking it over. In the beginning of the year, we all thought Brenton was a dork of the highest order. But I decided that Brenton was probably the coolest kid I ever met. And that includes me. Coolness doesn't come from having cool stuff or hanging with cool people. It's not cool to try to be cool. It's cool to try to not be cool. Brenton just does his own thing. He's one of those guys who's so uncool that he's cool. You know what I mean? You reach a point where you cross the line into coolness. Anyway, after school ended, I decided to call him up. He said, "To do what? We don't have any homework." And I said, "I don't know. You want to play a game of chess?" And he said, "Okay." Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. I never thought I'd hear from Judy, but she called me up right after school ended. She said that Brenton and Snick were going to play chess over at Brenton's house, and she was going to go too. And did I want to come? Brenton's parents weren't home, but my mom said it was okay, so I said sure. By the time I got there, Snick and Brenton were already going at it hot and heavy. All year long, Snick refused to play Brenton, and now they were finally playing each other. I mean, it was intense in there. It was like the Super Bowl of chess. The two of them were staring at the board so hard, I thought it was going to burst into flames. I didn't say a word. All I knew about chess was what Miss Rasmussen told us. I counted up the pieces on both sides, and Brenton had one more pawn than Snick. That was the only difference, so I knew it was a close game. Every so often, Brenton would mutter something mysterious, like classic Sicilian defense, or the old Benko gambit. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm not sure if Snick did either. Judy Douglas, grade 5. Brenton was sweating and fidgeting and talking to himself. I couldn't believe Snick was giving him a good game. I remember thinking back in September how Snick was so dumb, and how he was holding his own at chess with the smartest guy in maybe the whole world. I was rooting for Brenton, of course, because he was my boyfriend. Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. We took a break to eat some cookies Mrs. Damagachi had left, and I noticed that Brenton and Judy were holding hands. Holding hands! So I say, "Are you two going out or what?" Brenton just looked all embarrassed, but Judy said, "Yeah, we're going out." I knew it! So while they were off being all lovey-dovey with each other, Snick came over to me and asked me if I want to go get ice cream or something after the game. Can you believe that? Sam Dawkins actually asked me out. I tried to be cool about it. I said, "Are you just asking me out because Brenton and Judy are going out, or do you really want to go out with me?" And he says, "I really want to go out with you. I wanted to ask you out ever since school started, but I was too shy." Him? Shy? Unbelievable. I couldn't resist giving Snick a hard time. I said, "You need Brenton Damagachi to give you the courage to ask a girl out? How pathetic." Then I said, "Sure, I'd go out with him." Brenton Damagachi, grade 5. It reminded me of the classic Karpov-Korcheny game in 1978. I tried a queenside advance, but Snick had two aligned bishops clogging up the middle of the board. I offered him a poisoned pawn, but he was too smart to fall into that trap. Snick doesn't make dumb mistakes the way he used to. He was a much stronger player than he had been a few months earlier. I was up one piece, but he had the stronger position. I kept looking at the board, trying to come up with something that would trip him up. It was hopeless. Finally, I tipped my king over, and we shook hands. He had beaten me. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. I tried to be cool about it, but it was impossible. My heart was jumping out of my chest. I had just beaten Brenton Damagachi, the kid who was so smart that he got every kid in America to wear red socks to school. If I can beat him, that must mean I'm pretty smart too. Judy Douglas, grade 5. So Snick beat Brenton, and I thought nothing could beat that, but suddenly the doorbell rang. Brenton asked me to see who it was. I opened the door, and there was a guy in a suit standing there. He looked familiar to me, but I couldn't place the face. Then he sticks out his hand and says his name is Richard Milner. Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. Judy let out the scream from the front hallway. We heard the door slam and we all came running over. She was hysterical. She said it was the guy she saw on the street. I asked her what his name was, and she said it was Milner. Milner! That was the guy who was stalking me online. He was right outside the door. I freaked out. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. Kelsey starts in screaming, "Call the police! Call 911!" I didn't know what to do. Judy and Kelsey were screaming and crying and running around like an asteroid was about to hit the house. They said the guy was with the FBI or the CIA and that we would all be going to jail. I looked around for a baseball bat or something I could hit the guy with if he tried to break down the door. Brenton Damagachi, grade 5. I opened the door. What else could I do? The man was just standing there. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. So Brenton opens the door and asks the guy if he's with the FBI. He says no. Brenton asks him if he's with the CIA. He says no. I can't take it anymore, so I ask the guy who he is and what he wants from us. He says nobody's in trouble and we didn't do anything wrong. That calmed the girls down a little. Judy Douglas, grade 5. The guy showed us his business card. He says he's in the marketing business and he works for a company that sells stuff to kids. I asked him why he was stalking us, and he said he wasn't stalking us. He simply wanted to talk to us. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. I asked the guy what kind of stuff he sells to kids. He says everything: breakfast cereal, toys, toothpaste, clothes, video games, music. So I asked, what does that have to do with us? Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. The guy says he's been looking for kids who influence other kids. You know, like kids who's the first to do stuff and then everybody else starts doing the same stuff. Kids who start trends. He's been trying to talk to us for a long time, he said, because he thought Red Sox Day and Inside Out Day were brilliant and effective marketing plans. If Brenton could get every kid in America to wear Red Sox to school, he said, imagine how much breakfast cereal his clients could sell. Imagine how many toys, clothes, tubes of toothpaste, video games, and CDs his clients could sell. He said he would pay Brenton if he would help him. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. I'm thinking, how much? I mean, this could be bigger than Mick homework. Judy Douglas, grade 5. Basically, the guy wanted Brenton to help him trick kids. He wanted Brenton to spread the word that certain products were cool so his clients could make more money. I didn't think it was very nice, and I told him so. I told him that kids don't need anyone to tell them what to buy. Most toys are junk anyway. We can make up our own minds about which video games to play and CDs we should listen to. We can make up our own minds about what's cool. But of course, it was Brenton's call. He invented the machine. He was the computer genius. Brenton Damagachi, grade 5. I thought it over. I told the guy I'd like to go into business with him. Judy was really mad. Then I told the guy I didn't want to sell toothpaste and I didn't want to sell clothes or CDs or video games. He says, well, what do you want to sell? I told him I didn't want to sell some product to kids of the world. I want to sell an idea. A really good idea that I'd been working on in my head. The guy was all excited. He asks, what's the idea? What's the idea? I looked around like it was a big secret that I didn't want anyone else to hear. Then I whispered it in his ear. Do your homework. The guy left. I don't think he'll be bothering us anymore. The end. So that was the end of Dan Gutman's The Homework Machine. Now, if you notice my message there at the end, I said the end, or is it? Just so you know, there is The Return of the Homework Machine by Dan Gutman. Maybe the machine's not really gone. Check it out.